Good morning. My name is Julie Rayner, and I am the secretary for the High Point Historical Society's Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the board, I'm here to welcome you to our educational program this fall. And this is the second one we've done, and we're following the theme of how did we get here? And today's program is Q&A with Santa. And I'm going to give a little introduction here. Teresa Laughlin, the High Point Museum's Community Relations Director, is going to be starting off with a short presentation, and then we will be speaking to Santa Cliff Snider. And just a little bit of background about Santa Cliff. It was 1962 when a heartbroken 15-year-old first put on a Santa Claus suit for his Sunday school class. Little did he know that God was giving him a special purpose for his life. This year marks the 58th year that Santa Cliff Snider from High Point has expressed his love for Christmas to young and old. A 1995 graduate of the Charles W. Howard Santa Claus School, Cliff has been featured in over 75 paintings of Santa Claus. He also has a Doctor of Santa Claus degree from the International University of Santa Claus. His book, Santa's Journey, chronicles his personal story of his Santa ministry. Santa Cliff has been featured on the Christian Broadcasting Network's The 700 Club, on the Billy Graham Evangelistic Society's website, and in Guidepost magazine. In August of 2012, he was awarded by the governor the Order of the Longleaf Pine, North Carolina's highest award for a citizen of the state, for his 50 years of service to the children of North Carolina as Santa Claus. Also in 2012, he was inducted into the International Santa Claus Hall of Fame in Santa Claus, Indiana, along with character actor Mickey Rooney. Through paintings, fine art photographs, and manufactured gift products, Santa Cliff's image has become America's most recognized Santa Claus. Santa Cliff Snider is available for personal appearances, corporate visits, as a featured motivational speaker and storyteller, and for television and radio commercials, as well as printed media interviews. So we are honored to be able to have a conversation with Santa Cliff today.
I was muted so you wouldn't hear the else. Thank you. I always say with that and $2, I can get a cup of coffee. Well, thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm happy to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to start it off with just a short presentation about the history of Santa Claus and how we got to where we are. So I'll kick that off right now, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, there we go. Okay, are y'all seeing my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, well, here we go. And as you can see, this is our own Santa Cliff. And this picture was taken in the blacksmith shop on the High Point Museum campus. So we're very proud to be one of his places he likes to come and visit. Well, St. Nicholas was born in the 3rd century in Turkey. He was a bishop, and he was known for helping the poor, sick, and he was a protector of children. And that all happened in AD, before lots of things were going on. And then in 1087, Italian sailors allegedly stole the remains of St. Nicholas and took them to Italy. To this day, the remains are enshrined in San Nicola in Bari, Italy. And during the Renaissance period, St. Nicholas became one of the most popular saints in Europe, and people still celebrated the anniversary of his death, which was considered December 6th, with a feast. So I guess that's part of the reason that maybe we have Christmas in December. And then in the 17th century, Dutch immigrants began to bring the story of St. Nicholas to the US, which was known as Santa Claus, which evolved into how we pronounce it as Santa Claus. And his outfits varied from a red waistcoat to a trunk hose to a He had a 3-horned hat, yellow stockings, and a broad-brimmed hat. But how did we really get to how we are today? Let's continue looking. The Pennsylvania Dutch speak of a figure named Ben Sickle, or as we would say, Kris Kringle, which is derived from the German for Christ child, or Christkind, which means Christ child. Stories during the 1820s stated he would travel along the countryside, ringing a bell and delivering small gifts to good children and spanking the bad children. Well, I'm so glad Santa doesn't spank children anymore. And then in 1822, we all know this story very well, where Clement Clark Moore wrote the poem, an account of the visit from St. Nicholas for his 3 daughters. And in that account, he described Santa as a right jolly old elf who flew from house to house on Christmas Eve. His poem became so popular that it becomes the basis for how Santa is characterized in the US. I think we still characterize him the same way today. And then in the 1840s, the Santa was depicted in from Moore's poem in advertisements. And then in 1841, a shop in Philadelphia used a life-size Santa model to draw thousands of children to the store. In 1861, political cartoonist Thomas Nast, which is what the photo is down at the bottom, draws the picture of Santa Claus to accompany the account of a visit from Santa Claus. Kind of looks somewhat like the Santa Claus that we know today, but it's changed still a little bit. And then Harper's Weekly also depicted Santa as a portly figure with a white beard, fur-trimmed red suit, and a sack full of toys. And I did not know this, and this is one of my favorite things to do during the holiday season, is the Salvation Army begins dressing unemployed men in Santa's suits to solicit donations in New York. So I guess that's where they began their Red Kettle celebrations. And then the illustrator Handon Sundblom draws a series of Santa images for Coca-Cola, and they are used in the company's advertisements that becomes the modern day version of Santa Claus, and that was in 1931. So does this look more like the Santa we're used to? And he's changed over the years, but he still has the red suit and the long beard, and we're going to hear all about that. And I also wanted to let everyone know about our upcoming holiday open house, which all of our Santa visits are already gone for the year, or for this time. We only had limited spots, but we still have spots available to come and visit with us on that day. And maybe you can see Santa from the window or a nice wave, but we got a lot going on that day. So for me, memories of Christmas includes being with your family and having presents and decorations, and especially I love Christmas lights. But of course, the biggest part was Santa. And I still believe in the spirit of Santa, the giving, the kindness, and love. And now let's all hear from our own Santa. From High Point Santa, Santa Cliff.
Well, thank you, Teresa. You've believed in Santa ever since I've known you. And you've taught your family the same thing. I always look for you when I come to town in the Christmas parade, and it's such a joy. And thank you for having me today. You know, I've got my little St. Nicholas statue here, and I appreciate you telling me the story about that. And I didn't realize that Clement Moore had 3 daughters, because, you know, there's a story about St. Nicholas throwing coins into the house of a merchant in where he lived, because the merchant's children or girls needed to be married, and he didn't have a dowry for them. And so Santa Claus snuck up one night, and through an open window, he threw three coins into the house. Now, the custom back then was for the children to hang their socks on a chimney by the fire overnight so that they would dry out so they could wear them the next day. That's where the tradition of stockings hung by the chimney with care came from. And so when St. Nicholas threw those 3 coins into, one dropped into each stocking miraculously. And so the next morning, the girls get up to go down and put their stockings on, and they say, Father, look what I found in my stocking. And sure enough, there was a gold coin in each one of the girls' stockings that was enough for the father to have a dowry to have them married. And so that's a legend, I'm sure, but that's how the spirit of giving came. The 3 coins that you see on pawn shops, is ironic that St. Nicholas is the patron saint of pawn shops, but but anyway, that's the 3 coins that are represented there too. So there's a lot of history, and I appreciate you reviewing that for us. That was good information. And of course, now we've got Santa Claus of today, and still jolly and still plump. Although I've been working on that this year. You know, I figure if I gotta live another 100 years, I need to start taking better care of myself. He still keeps his nice list. I agree with Teresa that I don't think Santa has a naughty list. As far as he's concerned, all children are good. They just need a little encouragement sometimes. But he keeps the nice list, and I have mine. And there's boys and girls in here. We have a lot of fun, don't we, Teresa? When I have this at the museum, sometimes this is more important than I am. The children want to know if their name is in the nice list. And it's amazing when they look through there, the excitement that they have. And sometimes their name's not spelled right. And I said, I can explain. This is written in the alphabet, not the alphabet. The elves put their letters together a little bit differently. So this is in the alphabet, but I know who you are, and don't worry about it.
But don't they
so,
also like to look for
that's how the nice book works. One time I was at the High Point Museum, and I took a break and accidentally left my nice book next to my chair. And so I was coming back, and all the kids were going through the nice book trying to see if their name was in there, and which is okay. But thank goodness they didn't decide, hey, we'll play a trick on Santa and take his nice book. So yeah, I'm blessed to be able to be Santa right here in High Point. Actually, I was born in Thomasville, but we moved to High Point in 1950. And so we've lived here ever since. Lived on Lindsay Street, where the Bethany Medical Center is right now. Walked to all 12 grades of school. Graduated from High Point Central in 1965. Met my wife while we were in high school. Went off to college in Rochester, New York, which may as well have been the North Pole. I've never been so cold in all my life. 58 inches of snow the first year I was up there. Miserable. I felt like a fish out of water. I just, you know, this is strange. So came home after my freshman year and told my girlfriend at the time, I said, I'm not going back unless you'll go with me. So we got married that summer, and we've been happily married ever since. And although she won't dress up as Mrs. Claus, but she's a good supporter of what I do. So that's kind of a little background about me. If anybody's got any questions, let's ask some questions.
Well, Santa, can you tell us that story about how you actually started betraying Santa Claus when you were that young man?
Well, I can. Labor Day weekend in 1962, my dad's brother called and asked if he could go with him to Camp Lejeune because my 2 cousins, Bill and Wayne Snider, were getting out of the Marine Corps. And they were coming home. And Bill was expecting his first child, and Wayne was engaged to be married. And so my dad couldn't drive. He had never driven a car in his whole life. He walked to work every day. So he thought the least he could do is keep Uncle Fred company on the way to Camp Lejeune. But it was Labor Day weekend, and my brother and I were going to be out of school. So my dad was shaving on the day before, on Saturday before they left. And he said, Cliff, I'm sorry I'm not going to be here this weekend. and because I'd like to spend time with you. And I said, well, don't worry about it, Dad. We're out of school on Monday and you'll be back and we can have some fun then. And he said, okay, well, while I'm gone, you're the man of the house and you look after your mom and your little brother. I had a brother that was 3 years older. I was 15 and my brother was 12. And so he left. And that's the last conversation we had together. On the way back, there was a horrific accident and all 4 of the men were killed in that accident around Kinston, North Carolina. So you can imagine, Christmas of 1962 came around and I was a heartbroken teenager. And I belonged to the MYF at Methodist Youth Fellowship at Weston Memorial Church, which was downtown at the time where High Point Pinnacle Bank is now, but used to be High Point Bank. That's where the church was. And so my Sunday school class was going to take presents to a mission, and they needed somebody to be Santa Claus. Somebody piped up and said, well, Cliff can do it. He's the fattest one in here. And they thought I would fit into a Santa suit. Well, you know, I didn't think that was very funny, but I didn't have the courage to refuse. So I agreed to be Santa. And so, Teresa, I put on a cheap corduroy Santa suit. And obviously I didn't have a beard at that time. So I put on a cotton beard. I think it was cotton at the time, and a wig. And we cut down a Christmas tree from the property where Weston Memorial Church is now. And so I went hoing into the Beddington Street Mission, which was down near Washington Street in High Point. I had a Christmas tree on one shoulder and a bag of toys on the other shoulder. And I went hoing into the mission. And those children got so excited, they didn't care. It was a 15-year-old dressed up as Santa Claus. As far as they were concerned, Santa had come to see them. And so they were clamoring around trying to see me and everything. And so the rest of the members of the class took the bag of gifts and they started making paper mache rings, you know, to put on the Christmas tree, and they were decorating the tree. And the children were sitting on my knee and telling me what they wanted for Christmas. And it was like the Holy Spirit tapped me on the shoulder. It's like God said, Cliff, I know you've got a broken heart, but by bringing joy and happiness to children and other adults as well, I'm gonna heal your broken heart. And that's how my journey as Santa Claus started. And so I've felt led by him to put on the red suit every year since. And what a journey it's been. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better life than I have, and for the joy and happiness that people give me. It's not so much that I share with them, it's what I get back that makes me happy and keeps me going. So that's how I got started.
That's what makes you so special, is because of how you started. And, you know, ever since we've known each other, I can tell everyone I have a personal relationship with Santa Claus, and it's great. And I just want another question I have for you is, what is your favorite part about being Santa?
Cookies.
Well, what's your favorite cookie?
Oatmeal, raisin, walnut are my favorite. I tell the children that oatmeal's good. I tell Mrs. Claus this too. That oatmeal is good for me, and raisins are good for me, and walnuts are good for me. But what's more important than that is that the reindeer like them. And so I can't eat them all. I mean, you know, if I ate every cookie that the children left for me, I'd be as big as the whole team of reindeer. So I share them with the reindeer, and they love oatmeal raisin, and it really gives them energy and for the next trip that we're going to make. So that's my favorite. I love that, but I also love the music of Christmas. My dad's favorite Christmas carol was Away in a Manger. And that's my favorite Christmas carol too. And I remember that whenever he would sing that, I would see a tear run down his cheek. And so when I sing it, same thing happens to me. but I love the Christmas music. My wife and I met each other in orchestra at High Point Central, and I played the violin and she played the cello. And so we experienced a lot of great times in orchestra together, and chamber orchestra, and Christmas concerts were a lot of fun. So I enjoy that. And then I showed you earlier, I got 2 Christmas trees in here. I like the lights of Christmas. I got 2 in here, and I got 1 in the big house. These stay up year round. I haven't got time to decorate, so why not just decorate once and be done with it?
Exactly.
And so I enjoy the lights of Christmas. So it's the sounds and the lights and the cookies.
Well, I like all of that too. My favorite Christmas carol is Silent Night.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, I went to, there's a big Christmas store up in Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Oh.
Now, that's where the Charles W. Howard Santa Claus School that I graduated from is, near Frankenmuth. And at the Bronner's Christmas Village, they have a reproduction of the Silent Night Chapel, and they actually have the original words that I think it was Bonhoeffer or somebody wrote for Silent Night are there, and it's a real experience to go there and hear that music play and think about the origin of it and everything else.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us about, okay, do you have a favorite reindeer?
Well, the children think I do. They think the one with the red nose is the favorite, but you know, he was not born until 1937. And so long before that, we had Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen and Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. Prancer is Rudolph's father, by the way. And so it would not be fair to the reindeer to tell you that I have a favorite one. But Donner and Blitzen are the strongest one. In German, that means thunder and lightning. And so they're right in front of me. They're the ones that the reins are really attached to, as well as the rest of the reindeer. But they're the ones that have the strength to, you know, pull the sleigh off when we get started and everything. And so they're the strongest ones. And then if you'll notice in pictures, the reindeer get a little bit smaller as they go toward the front. And then Rudolph, if he's there, he's not there all the time, but he's slender because he's got to have the maneuverability to guide the sleigh and everything. So that's kind of how the aerodynamics of sleigh riding go.
Well, thank you for that lesson. I did not know that. Well, tell us about a few of the memorable things that the kids have asked for through the years.
Well, you may not remember this, Teresa. About 3 years ago at the High Point Museum, there was a family that came to see me. There was a boy that was about 12, maybe 13 years old. And he had his parents and his grandparents with him. Now, usually when a child is that age, he either doesn't believe or he believes so strongly that he really thinks that you can do what you want him to do. And so he was real serious about what we were about. And so I looked at him and I said, son, so tell me what you'd like for Christmas. And he said, excuse me, he said, I'd like a parachute for Christmas. And a parachute? Nobody's ever asked me for a parachute. You know, come to think about it, if anybody ever needed a parachute, it would be Santa Claus. I mean, what if I hit some turbulence and the sleigh turns over and I fall out and Christmas is over? I mean, son, that's one of the best ideas I've ever heard. So I tell you what, I'm going to get the elves to make 2 parachutes. I'm going to have them make one for me and one for you. Now, let me make sure that that's what you asked for. You want a parachute for Christmas. He looked me straight in the eye and he put his hands up by my face and he looked straight and he said, no, Santa. I said, a pair of shoes. Well, then I was embarrassed because, you know, a pair of shoes is a
little different.
It's a precious request, you know, and he's not thinking about toys or anything else. He just wants a new pair of shoes. And I went off on this tangent about a parachute. But boy, did we create a memory together.
Yes, you did. He'll never
And,
forget his encounter with Santa.
and I never will forget that. Another request came at Chick-fil-A. I enjoy going to Chick-fil-A. I guess I'm not going to be able to go this year because of COVID. But every year I go to the High Point locations of Chick-fil-A because I I respect them so much. The family that owns the Chick-fil-A's in High Point are just blessed people. They're so kind and generous with their time and with their efforts and everything else. So they would have a Santa kids night for Christmas on a Tuesday every year. So I'm at the Chick-fil-A on North Main and I'm visiting with the children and they're all coming up and they're asking me what they want for Christmas. And I'm giving them a little stuffed Chick-fil-A cow and a candy cane. Well, I noticed there was a heavy-set little boy sitting in the background, just watching everything that was going on, but he didn't want to have anything to do with the crowd or anything. Eventually, the crowd dispersed, and when he saw there wasn't anybody paying attention, he came up to me. So I greeted him and said, "Would you like to sit on my knee?" And he said, "No, Santa, I'm too big to sit on your knee." And he was heavy, just like I'd been. And so I got him right in front of me and I said, "Well, tell me what you would like for Christmas, son." And he said, "Santa," he said, "all I want is for the children on the bus to quit picking on me and calling me names and making fun of me." Well, Teresa, my heart broke because I knew how he felt. I mean, that's the way I had been treated when I was a youngster, and I understood. But I also understood that I can't make a promise to any child. I mean, Santa listens to all of their requests and he makes notes of them in the nice book, but we can never promise anything. We just tell them that we'll do the very best that we can. But then I realized that I had a little book in my coat pocket. My seamstress that made my suit for me, it has embroidered good boys and girls, and I keep a little notebook in there. And I said, "I'll tell you what, son, I've got this little book in here and I'm going to write your name in here and I'm going to write down what you asked me for. And when I get home tonight, I'm going to say my prayers and I'm going to ask God to make the children quit picking on you." I said, he can do that. Do you believe that?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "That's what I'm going to do then." He said, "Okay, thank you, Santa." And with that, he smiled and he turned around and he walked away. As he walked away, it's like the Holy Spirit tapped me on the shoulder again and said, "Now, Santa, that's a promise that you can keep." So that night when I got home and I was taking my suit off and everything, I sat down on the side of my bed and I took out that little book. I turned to the page with Jeffrey's name on it. And I started talking to heaven about this little fella that I had just met. And it's like every angel in heaven, excuse me, was listening to that request. As sure as I'm talking to you, I know that that prayer was answered, and I've never seen Jeffrey again, but I know that I did what God wanted me to do for that fellow. Well, that Santa's, I call it Santa's prayer book now. It's got hundreds, maybe thousands of names in it of people, young and old. I had a lady who lost her husband, and she was a good friend of mine. And I was at a Christmas party right after her husband had passed away. And we have a gift exchange there, and we make every adult come and sit on Santa's lap while we give them their present. And I asked them what they wanted for Christmas. And she whispered in my ear and she said, "Santa, all I would like to have would have my husband back." Well, you know, my heart broke again because I knew that was something that Santa couldn't do, but I had my prayer book. So I took it out and I showed her and I wrote her name in it and what she requested. I still go to Christmas parties with that lady. She has a new husband. That's how God answered that prayer. And I'm sure that her husband would want her to spend the rest of her years with someone else that loved her. And so that's how God answered that prayer. So
Well, you
He
have.
knows better than we do.
All right. Well, this is the big question. How is
Oh,
Christmas different this year because of COVID?
you mean this?
Exactly.
Yeah, I wear, Mrs. Claus makes me wear it every place I go. You know, I go to the grocery store like this, you know. Now it's pretty easy to recognize who I am, but you know, when I put my mask on, it's even more evident. And a lot of places I can't go. I can't go to the hospital this year to see sick children. I can't go to big parties like High Point University, you know, has their community Christmas. We can't do that because we have thousands of people that come through, and they're sitting in Santa's lap and we're talking together and everything. So we have to be safe. So that's been canceled. A lot of things have been canceled. But I'm doing visits like this. I'm doing Zoom calls to where children can actually register on our website. It's called howtosavechristmas.com. And they can go there and they can sign up and they can have a conversation just like this with me. And we can visit that way. We're even making free calls like that available to children that are in the hospital, so that if they're in the hospital and Santa can't come see them, he can see them through a Zoom call. They can also have a picture made with me through that site. Now, I'm not sure how that works, you know, but the photographer has taken pictures of me for the same photographer that took the picture on your page. He's got photos of me, and a mother can send a photograph of their child to the website, pick a scene that she would like to have the child in with Santa, and it'll be done. And the proof will come back and she can see it. And if she likes it, she can click approve, and she pays for whatever she wants, whether she wants a Christmas ornament, Christmas cards, a picture, a blanket. She can even get a blanket with the portrait on there. And once she clicks pay, in a few days, it'll be there. You know, I mean, I don't know how the elves do it, but bless their hearts. You know? So that's what we're doing a lot this year.
So
I'm doing some outdoor, ma'am.
a lot of technology.
Oh, technology that I don't understand, but that's why we have elves, I guess. Technical elves.
That's good.
So that's how I'm doing some outdoor events. In fact, High Point University decided that they would do a drive-by event this year, with their lights and decorations and everything, and Santa would be there waving at them. So we, you know, I can do that, you know, outside and no face to face or touching or anything like that. So we're finding creative ways. But I tell you what, Teresa, this, you know what 2020 means? It's perfect vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what God's given us, is perfect vision, that the important things are our own well-being, our own safety, and the safety of our family. And so this year we're focusing on that more than we are gifts and all of the other trappings of Christmas. We're focusing on what's the most important, because we're realizing how fragile life is, that none of us are promised tomorrow, that we never know when we get up the next morning, you know, what we're faced with. And so 2020 is teaching us that focus on your family, the people that you love. Tell them that you love them. Show them that you love them. Spend time with them, because that's the most important gift that we can give of ourselves, is our own love to the people that we care about. So that's the lesson that I'm learning from 2020, and I'm trying to share that with folks that I get to see as well.
Wow, that's a very, very profound Santa. That sounds great. I mean, I had not thought of that in those terms, but going back to my belief that Santa is the spirit of giving and kindness. And I think that's what this year means for me, is being kind to one another.
Absolutely. We just got finished up a a season when we weren't very kind.
Right. So now we need to go in a season of being kind and caring for each other. And I just love that. So
I do too. I do too.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you 10,000%.
Well, are there any other questions from, those are all the questions that I had. Any other questions from Julie or Mary or any of our people? Edith? No?
Anybody?
I think I asked a lot of questions.
This is Mary. I have a question.
Okay.
I'm very curious. What was the Santa school like? How long did it last, and what all did you have? How was it? That sounds fascinating.
I tell you what, it's more fun than adults should be allowed to have. We went. I first went to the Charles Howard Santa Claus School in 1996, and tell you how that came about. I was at the High Point Rotary Club for a Christmas party, and Max Meeks was dressed up as Santa Claus. Y'all remember Max Meeks, don't you?
Of course.
And I thought that was the most beautiful Santa Claus I'd ever seen. And I went up to him and I said, Max, your suit is just spectacular. Where in the world did you get it? And he opened up his coat and he said, from the Santa Claus Suit and Equipment Company, of course. And I thought, you mean there's a place where Santa can get his own coat? And I thought, I've got to have one of those. So I asked him, I said, do you mind telling me how much that cost? He said, yeah, I think it was around $600. And I thought, $600? There's no way that Mrs. Claus is going to let me do that. Well, I went home and I asked her, and of course I got the expected result. And so I thought, I know what, I'll ask my mom for it. And so I went and I explained to Mom how much I would love to have this, my own Santa Claus suit, because up until that time I'd been renting them. And she said, well, let's call and find out how we go about doing that. So she called the man that made the suit, and he explained to her how to measure me, because a one-size Santa suit won't fit all. And so he explained all of that. And in the conversation, he said, has he ever heard or been to the Santa Claus school? And she said, I don't know. I'll ask him. So she hangs up the phone and she said, Cliff, did you know that there's a Santa Claus school? And I said, there is. Oh, I want to go. And so I applied. I had to write an essay to the dean of the school explaining why I thought I would make a good Santa. They would only accept 10 students a year at that time. And so you never knew whether you were going to be accepted or not. I was accepted to the Charles Howard Santa Claus School for the first time in 1996. I went there and it was the most magical place I have ever been. It's in Midland, Michigan, and the town of Midland has their own Santa house. And that's where Santa visits. There's no Santa in the mall. There's no Santa in the department stores or any place else. Santa is at his house in Midland, Michigan. And so he comes to town in the Christmas parade. And when he gets there, he goes home and stays at the Santa house round the clock. And lines will go all the way around the block waiting to see Santa Claus. And it's just unbelievable. It's magical. Well, when I got my diploma, the dean of the school, his name is Tom Valent, gave me my diploma. And I privately said, Tom, I'm just not sure I'm cut out to do this. I have seen some of the most beautiful Santas and Mrs. Clauses here that I have ever seen in my life. I don't know if I can measure up to them. And he said, Cliff, all you need to remember is when you go back to High Point, North Carolina, you be the very best Santa Claus that you can be in your town. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't try to copy anybody else. Don't try to be like anybody else. You be Santa Cliff in High Point, North Carolina, and that's all you have to worry about. That's the best lesson I ever could have learned from any school. And that's what I've continued to try to do. And so I've been back 5 times so far to Santa Claus School, and then I've been to other schools. I went to the International University of Santa Claus, and I've been to the St. Nicholas Institute where we learned about St. Nicholas. It's in Michigan also. And I actually try to go to any kind of school that I can, because I think it's important that we keep learning, Julie. I mean, you know, we can't stop learning. We have to just keep trying to perfect what we do. And I'll learn new things. I learned new things today from you, Teresa, when you were telling about the history of Santa Claus. And that's what keeps us exciting and keeps me excited and alive and happy and joyful about what I'm doing. And then when I can share those stories with other people like we're doing today, it's a win-win for all of us. So Mary, that's what Santa Claus was like. Yeah, you asked me how long it was. We went on a Thursday and we graduated on a Saturday night. So it's like 3 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if you want to go, you know, they take ladies too.
Okay. Sounds like fun.
It was fun. It's a lot of fun. And while we're there, we go to Frankenmuth, Michigan. Frankenmuth has a chicken restaurant. It's a Bavarian village. The whole town of Frankenmuth is a reconstructed Bavarian village. And they have Zinner's famous chicken restaurant, which is really good. And you can imagine when 30 or 40 Santa Clauses come in, because they let the alumni of the Santa School come back to teach the new people. And so, so we're learning from each other. And so when we all show up at the chicken village and one time, it's like a lot of excitement. Everybody is excited that Santa's there. And then we all go to the Christmas store together. And so the Christmas shoppers are looking in one, there's Santa, and then there's Santa, and there's Santa, and we're everywhere. So it's a lot.
Uh-oh. We lost you, Santa. Oh, we lost you. There you are.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
One thing about doing this on an iPad, if somebody wants to talk to you, they can call.
Yeah, technology's fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun, but it can be challenging when something happens that you don't quite know what to do about. I'm glad I could decline that call.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions? I'm getting warmed up now.
Well, I think we're good on our questions.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and being High Point Santa, because, you know, my granddaughter now is getting where she doesn't, unfortunately, my oldest doesn't believe, but she believes in the spirit. That's what I've taught her, as you've taught me. And so she always would say that you're because when we see other Santa helpers out in the community, Santa Cliff is Emily's favorite and only Santa, because she says he's got the curly cues and he's always smiling. And so I said, yeah, that's Santa. He's jolly. And so she's always loved, and Santa Cliff was always so nice to wave and blow Emily a kiss at the Christmas parade. So I guess we're going to miss that this year, because we're not doing the Christmas parade.
She'll be at the open house, won't she?
Yes, she will be there.
You know,
an appointment.
Interesting story about the Christmas parade. When we first moved to High Point in 1950, and I enjoyed going to the Christmas parade because I thought that's when Santa came to town. And I remember Ilderton Dodge had a Santa Claus in their window at the car dealership, and he would just ho ho ho, you know, and he'd be waving, you know. And I thought that's where he went when he came to town, was at Ilderton Dodge. I later found out that Santa, perhaps, who was the Santa in that Christmas parade, was the very Max Meeks that I saw at High Point Rotary Club. So that made it even more special to me. Then in 2000, the Christmas parade contacted me, and Jim Hunt, who was the Santa at that time, had a knee replacement, and he couldn't climb up in the sleigh, and they needed someone to take his place. And they asked me if I'd do it. Of course, that's the dream of every Santa, is to be Santa in a Christmas parade. Of course, the dream is to be Santa in the Macy's parade, but that's not going to happen. So to be able to be Santa in the High Point Christmas parade was a dream come true. So I showed up at the sleigh in time to get up there, and the sleigh is up on a flatbed truck. It's about 15 feet up in the air, and I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to get up there? And luckily, the guy that's driving the float shows up with a step ladder, and he helps me. Now, this is, Santa's dignity kind of went away as I'm climbing up on the step ladder into the sleigh and everything. And then, of course, I had to sit there for over an hour because Santa's the last appearance in the parade. So a little bit of the glamour is leaving until I pull away. And then all of a sudden, when I'm seeing everybody and waving and ho, ho, hoing and all of that, what a great time. And unfortunately, Jim passed away the following year, and I've been riding the sleigh every year since then. So it's kind of sad that we can't do it this year, but we'll be back next year and from then on, as long as I'm able to do it. But it's interesting to know the history of the High Point Christmas Parade and how much fun it's been. Used to be at night. It used to be on a Sunday. It's still on a Sunday. No,
Yeah,
it's on the Saturday, always on the.
When it was at night, I think it was on Thursday. I think it was on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. That's what I remember growing up.
Yeah.
And my family always went. So the parade has a special place in my heart. So I am going to miss it this year. But we're so glad that you're going to be able to be at our holiday open house. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Family.
And the Little Red.
In Little Red, that's right. We'll be in Little Red School.
I learned to play the violin in the Little Red Schoolhouse, so that's special to my heart. It really is. And I was going to Race Street School when it burned down, and had to transfer to Tomlinson School. So I know all the history of Little Red, and I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to be Santa Claus in my schoolhouse. That's going to be special.
So we're very glad. So, well, thank you for everybody for coming, and thank you, Santa Cliff, for being here, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, I can't wait. God bless everybody, and thank you for listening to me, and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, and of course, a Merry Christmas.